Southern Belle orchard is owned by the de Jong family. It has around 3,000 Feijoa trees and 3,000 square metres of greenhouses, growing mainly capsicums. The company was the supreme winner of the 2015 Waikato Balanced Farm Environment Awards. Frans de Jong is also chair of the New Zealand Feijoa Growers Association.
Growing up in Friesland in the north of the Netherlands and after a career in agricultural chemistry, we moved to New Zealand when I was 45 because I wanted to go back and get my hands dirty. And so we bought this place in 2003, and it was a business which had a whole fruit cake, you could say, of fruit. When I first bought it, I thought, oh, we got all these crops nicely coming behind each other, but actually they were coming across each other, and it was a bit of a nightmare, really. So we decided to cut it down to only two main things to concentrate on, which is the Feijoas and the greenhouse. It became my little baby to see if we can get these Feijoas overseas. A lot of challenges. One is the shelf life. You can actually get 4 or 5 weeks out of a Feijoa. The other thing is the insect problems. So we're working with Massey University, we work with Plant and Food to get these things sorted. We put our Feijoas on Espaliered. We prune it back hard all the time. We get good light levels in it. We get excellent fruit set. Birds can go through it to pollinate them. So yeah, I believe it's a really good system. We've always been quite forward with trying new things. We've been working with a company in Waharoa for a while, and then we started to move on to the Kinsey method, which is really focusing on the microelements in the soil. What we do, we touch pick the fruit, which means that we feel if it's ready. We tend to take the fruit when the jelly is just starting to clear. Even though that same fruit might be ready within a week and fall on the ground and then only last for 4 days, when we take it off premature, then it will last for 4 or 5 weeks before it gets ripe. It is a big challenge because the pickers, it might take them 3 days to learn what has to be done, but it takes them 2 weeks before they actually get a bit of speed. We have 4 different colored buckets. We've got 1,500 of them. We use the red one for the fruit that actually has dropped on the ground, so that doesn't go into export, because that would be really dangerous, of course. So we have red buckets to pick the fruit off the ground, and the other colors, green, yellow, and blue, are for the touch-picked fruit. Two main challenges for the Feijoas to get them into the export market are the insect problems you might see. There's quite a deep calyx on the Feijoa, which can contain the mealybug, which is not a problem for the fruit at all, but it is a problem when it arrives in the US or Australia. The other challenge is to get a decent shelf life out of Feijoas. The first one is addressed by blowing the calyx. We've got air guns hanging there to actually blow the little corky roof out of the calyx, which then also takes care of the mealybug. Before that, we actually dip with a pyrethrum solution, the natural pyrethrum solution, to kill insects that are on the surface of the fruit. After that, we do a final check here in the boxes as well to see if we see still some insects running around. So it's a quite finicky process. When there's a problem at the other end, that's usually an insect problem. Then if that happens in the US, for instance, it can be destroyed, which means you have to pay the bill for that. We've been exporting since the time we arrived here, basically 13 years now, and we've had all these things happening to us. So that's why we actually came up with the solutions like dipping with pyrethrum to be more secure. It is always still 99.5% that you sort of get it right, I think. Another option that we're looking at the moment is with water blasting. With Plant and Food. So we're going to do a little trial this year and do a more extensive trial next year to see if we can get, with water blasting, can get rid of all the insects. We plant in August, and then it takes another 2.5 months, and then we get our first capsicums by the end of October, early November. And that carries on for another 8 months. This is mainly local market. And that means about sort of 85% of the production goes into the wholesale, mainly to Auckland. The 15% that's left has been sold on the farmers' markets in Tauranga and Hamilton. We use predator insects in the greenhouse, which is not uncommon. But there's another thing we do. We use, instead of a sterile root zone, we use compost extract in there to get more microbes, soil microbes, if you like, into the root zone. And we feed that with seaweed and humic acid and sometimes a little bit of molasses if it needs to. And that helps to create a very healthy soil environment, which then means that we don't use fungicides at all already for 8-9 years. I see, Talbot, these small ones, they look pretty good, hey, for the time of the year. We have had a succession plan in place since 3 years ago. Our son Talbot and his Emily are part of the business now.
We are working ourselves into the ownership of the business in a 10-year plan, and hopefully Mum and Dad will be able to slow down a little bit and we'll take on more and more responsibilities. We've had a succession planning consultant helping us out with that, and that's been really good. It's really hard to find a right path to go for, and he really helped us funnel us into that direction that we wanted to go, and from both sides, from Mum and Dad's perspective and from me and Emily as well, and it's been really helpful. We make sure that we communicate properly and we have our weekly team meetings, and as long as we have those, everything seems to go right.
The future will be, if you look at, let's say, volume first, so we produce about 80 tons of capsicums a year, which is something that doesn't change because the greenhouse is what it is. You got your yearly production. Feijoas, probably 80, 90 tons in about 3 or 4 years. That's the future we're looking at.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.